Hey there, welcome to Coffee Break Plans. Today I'm going to fill out my November reads in my reading journal. I'm also going to finish setting up my January, February spreads for next year. I have already set up most of my 2026 spreads and I'll leave a link to that in the cards. But I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do with January, February, or in fact for any of the monthly spreads for the rest of the year. So I left them pretty minimal, but today I'm going to go through and do some swatches and put in some washi tape and get it all ready for next year. And I'm doing it now in the November reading journal video because in the December video I would like to finish off all of my book matrices, my book brackets, and do a flip through of my entire reading journal for the year of 2025. So that will be next month. So this month I'm just going to keep it nice and simple and just fill out what I've done this month and finish off that setup. So let's get cracking. So I've already gone through and stuck in all of the book covers ready to go, and all I have to do now is write my little review. So I'll have a chat to you about each book as I do this review. My top read for November was This Is the Effing News by Paddy Gower. That title came from a joke that he made during his career that then became very much associated with him. And it's about his story about how he became a journalist and then when he became the political reporter for 3 News. And of course, that meant going overseas with the Prime Minister, that meant reporting on elections, that meant hosting leaders' debates right before elections. So it was a really, really interesting read and I thoroughly enjoyed it. My runner-up was The Help by Kathryn Stockett. This has been something I've intended to read for a long, long time. I haven't watched the movie. I did find a really battered, water-damaged, falling apart version of this in the staff room at work, so I decided it was a sign that it was time to take that home and read it, so I did. I really loved the characters, I loved the story, and I really loved the conclusion and where they got to at the end. It was a really great read. The next best read this month was Lost Connections by Johann Hari, or Hari. I've already read one of his books, I think it was Stolen Focus. What I really like about his books is that he tells a story and he gets his point across, and then he continues to shore up the evidence rather than repeating himself. A lot of the self-help books or non-fiction books that you get, the first chapter tells you what you need to know, and then everything else is just padding really to justify an entire book sold at $50 a pop. So this is really great. It's about the fallacy of depression being about brain chemistry and therefore fixable by drugs. His argument is that the drugs really don't work long term, and it's all told from his personal experience and from talking to a lot of people who do a lot of research. And he looks at both sides of it. He doesn't just look at one side. He looks at the side that says drugs do something and the side that says drugs don't do anything. So it was very, very interesting. So I read Beautiful Demons by Sarah Cannon. Now I've been watching Sarah's channel Heart Breathings for many years now, and I have to say I'm not really into teen romantasy or any kind of a book that has this type of cover on it, but I really like her channel, so I decided to give it a go, and it was really enjoyable. So as I'm writing here, I will continue with the series. And the last 4 books that I read this month, one was Hazel Gaynor, The Last Lifeboat, and it's a fictionalized version of a ship that went down while evacuating children during World War II, but they didn't really give them very good military escorts. They would only escort them so far before abandoning them, and almost sunk by a U-boat. There was a lot of loss of life, and there was one lifeboat that was found many weeks later, and this is based on that. Maid is actually the true story behind the fictionalized Netflix series of the same name. Not quite the same, it's much more dramatized in the Netflix series and comes to quite a nice little conclusion. I quite enjoyed it. I enjoyed this as well. It really gets across that grind of low income, hard work that so many people face. These last 2 are Amazon original stories, so they're all designed to be read in one sitting, so they're short stories. The first one was Sally Hepworth, the Ex-Wives Club. It's about a whole bunch of ex-wives who still go to their ex-husband's restaurant, and the ex-husband is found dead in the freezer, I think, so it's a bit of a whodunit. It was just one of those fun and light reads. Yes, even though it has a murder in it, it was a fun, light read. Margaret Atwood, this is Cut and Thirst. I've put down that it's weird. It's a short story, but I've said I'm not entirely sure what about. It's a revenge plot with no revenge. which I think is me simplifying it a little bit too much. I mean, there's not much room to write here. We did go to Goodreads to see what other people thought about it, because sometimes when I'm not sure, it's nice to see what other people are saying. And there were mixed thoughts over there too, so I'm not alone. So with my November reads all locked away and completed, I need to fill out my book bracket with my top read of the month. So that goes here. And I use a Artline calligraphy pen 2mm for this. It just seems to cut through the coloured tape a lot better, and then it tends to dry quite quickly. So over the page now to December, and I already have this all set up ready to go. I'm actually recording this on the 6th of December, so we are well into the month of reading for me. And I put my TBR here. I have the last 4 books of the Trixie Belden series to read. I'm already quite a way through that first one there. The theme for this month is a cleanup, and that is me just reading all of the books that have been sitting either on my bedside table or on a list in my Kindle or in the online library app. So I'm just going through and finishing off all of those books that I have sitting around. And then I have it here, my finishing off these, well, that's not very well written, is it? And I'm finishing off the Charlaine Harris books that were part of series that I read for my October challenge. So I read 1 book out of each of these series. Now I'm going back and finishing off the remaining books in that series. And these are some of my favourite series to read over the Christmas holidays anyway. So quite appropriate that that's there. So we're over the page now into January 2026, and what I've decided to do for 2026 is a very similar setup to 2025, where I have my to be read list on this page here with a cut here, and on the other side I then have February with the TBR here and a cut here. I'm using black or neutral tape on the outside pages here, and I'll be using coloured tape on the inside here, themed to that particular month. And the reason I've decided to do that, there's just a lot of colour just with the book covers that it tends to become a bit of a riot of colour anyway. So the more neutral that that page can be with all of those book covers, the better. And then I just use my colours and my themes on this side of the page. Now I didn't cut this when I set it up because I wasn't sure how I wanted it to be, and as I said then, you can't uncut what you've already cut. But what I'm going to do now is I think I am going to cut it. I'm going to put some washi tape here, so I'm going to leave it a little bit wider just in case I do decide to do something extra with it. Hey there, this is me. I was intending to show you my setup for January, February, putting washi tape on, etc. Unfortunately, that footage seemed to disappear, and instead I filmed myself trying to get the washi tape started. So enjoy this very brief bit of footage of that, and then we'll skip to the next bit. So I've reused a bit of footage that appears later on in the video. This is what January and February look like when I finish setting it up. So my full setup for 2026 starts here, and I start with some waterfall tabs that I did for, oh wow, that's not very good, is it? Hang on. Just gonna tidy that a little bit. So I always start my year with a full list of every single book that I've read for the year. So this is it set up here on these waterfall tabs, and I read about 100 books a year, so I need to set up a fair few pages for it, and I'll show you what it looks like in this year's list, so you have an idea of what it looks like when it's finished. So books read, I did some waterfall tabs here as well, and I just write the name and the author, and I just continue going until I get to the last page. So as you see, I'm at 97 here, and I have a little bit of space, and I should have enough space for all of the books that I read for the remainder of the year. If I don't, I will probably do something like a little tip-in or a little tab so that I can keep a complete list in here, rather than trying to squeeze it in little spaces here, which I have done in the past. I think I would rather just add on a little bit of extra page to complete that list in a more tidy manner. But back to 2026, the waterfall tabs are all set up ready to go, and I have again 3 spreads worth for that. And then I have set up my book bracket, and I decided to go ahead and use the same system that I did last year, where I decided to use the washi tape that I've designated for each month to place here. So I am going to go ahead and set up now the January and the February, now that I have the washi tape selected for that, and I will get that done ready to go for the beginning of next year. So what I noticed as I was putting this together is that sticking the washi tape down and then pulling it back up was not very successful, as it tended to rip up the black card. So what I'm going to do is use this page for the year to keep track of where my books are. If I decide I don't like how it looks and I want to redo it, I will simply do it on a fresh page and then I will stick it in. But I will do that at the end of next year. I will certainly not worry about doing it during the year. I will fix it all up at the end. And 2026 is the last year in this journal, so I'll get it all tidied up, ready to go, and then it can be popped away on the shelf with all the rest of my journals. So a final flick through of my 2026 setup. So I have my 2026 list all set up, ready to go in the waterfall tabs. I have my slightly tortured book bracket. I have my book matrix, which of course stays as a draft until the very, very end of the year. I haven't even done this year's yet. I have January's all set up, ready to go with a purple washi tape. I have February's ready to go with a purpley heart tape. That was not deliberate, that was completely by accident. That is my book journal done for November. I'm all set up, ready to go for December, and I'm even ready to go for January, February next year. So have a great week, and I will see you next time.